Hello friends, on this video I'm gonna show you how I went from this to this. Let's go!
It's been a while since my last video, but I'm finally back with another guitar project. And yes, I'm still in the Van Halen phase. Last video I did was a Frankenstein style paint job with Replica on an old Ibanez SA series I had. I'm gonna put the link to this video here. Well, since I've had my dose of stripes, it's time to move to the next best thing. So let me explain what this yellow Kramer is all about and what made me wanna have it.
I always say everything happens for a reason in life. Sat next to a guy that had a Van Halen jacket on. And he was talking to this girl for about 2 hours. And I'm dying now to talk to this guy because he's got a Van Halen jacket on, you know. And so the girl left, and all of a sudden I said to this guy, I said, "Do you really know Eddie?" So he says, "Yeah." He says, "I know Eddie. I'm his road manager or something, right?" I said, "Are you kidding me?" So we start talking, and I start talking to him about the tremolo bar and this new tremolo bar I have, and so on and so on. So he gets off the plane, and he says, "You really want to meet Eddie Van Halen, huh?" So I said, "Do I want to meet Eddie Van Halen?" So anyway, he gets it, and it's unbelievable. He gets in the phone booth. He's talking. He calls up Eddie. He says, "Eddie, I got this kid here, kid, I don't know how old I was, a guy here, and he says he's got this new tremolo bar. Do you want to meet him?" So Eddie says, "Yeah, you know, let him come up." So I comes out, he says, "Here's Eddie's address, you know, go meet him." Now I thought this guy was heavily on drugs at the time. You know, for me, he just hands me Eddie's address and I'm going to go meet Eddie, you know. But anyway, I said, what do I got to lose? You know, so I take the address, I go up, all of a sudden there's these big gates. There's this, punch pad on the side. I punch in a number, and the voice comes on. They said, "Yeah." I said, "You know, this is Dennis Berardi. Somebody told me I can meet Eddie here." So the gates open up. I go in. Valerie answers the door, and there was Guitar Player magazine doing an interview, and Eddie sees me. He says, "Hi." He says, "How you doing?" He comes up. He says, could you wait a couple minutes? I want to finish this interview." I said, "No, I want to talk to you now." I said, "It's now or never, you know." So he said, "All right, I'll talk to you now." No. So he finished the interview, and he sat down, and we start talking, and I just told him the truth. I said, "Eddie, listen," I said, "I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I got this tremolo bar and so on and so on. I'm a little guitar company, but I know we can build great guitars." I said, you know, because I was in the retail business before we started Kramer, and, you know, Fender was bought out by CBS, Norland bought Gibson, and so on and so on. The guitars were really going down the tubes. I said, we could build a great guitar that musicians can really love. I said, and someday we could be #1, you know. And I swear, within 3 hours of us talking, he said, "Okay, let's do it." I said, "What do you mean, let's do it?" He said, "Let's do it. I'll do it with you, you know." I said, "Well, how much money do you want?" He said, "I don't want anything." He says, "Let's just put Gibson and Fender out of business." I said, "Sounds good to me," you know.
And through a series of successful business moves, Kramer managed to be the best-selling guitar brand of the mid-80s. It was around that time that Sammy joined Van Halen. Samuel Roy Hagar, born October 13th, 1947, also known as the Red Rocker, is an American singer-songwriter, musician, and entrepreneur. Hagar came to prominence in the 70s with the hard rock band Montrose. He then launched a successful solo career, scoring an enduring hit in 1987 with "I Can't Drive 55. He enjoyed commercial success when he replaced David Lee Roth as the lead singer of Van Halen in 1985, but left in 1996. Kramer did this one-off super custom beauty for Sammy. The OU812 guitar was made exactly like Eddie Van Halen's early guitars. It was played a lot during the 1988 tour. The most interesting and striking thing about this guitar is the red Floyd and the red Salar tuners. And yes, they were colored Floyd offered for direct order from Kramer back in the day. Sammy played and cherished this guitar until 2019, when he gave it to his friend and business partner Guy Fieri as a birthday present. I have a weak spot for yellow guitars, and needless to say, when I saw this one for the first time, I had to have it. So since Mr. Hagar wasn't willing to give me one for my birthday also, I had to make it on my own, on a budget. So without further ado, say hello to my Kramer Beretta Special. This is going to be the base that I'm gonna build upon. This is a great starting point to get to where I'm going. The body shape, the slanted pickup and the maple fingerboard. There's some crucial parts missing, but this is an entry-level guitar at around $150. For the money, it's surprisingly good. The neck is very nice, the frets are a bit scratchy, but that's fully fixable. The tuning keys are nothing to write home about. It really has the worst volume pot in the history of volume pots. It basically goes from 0 to 10 with no in-between positions. But the bridge pickup is very nice sounding, so I think I'm gonna keep it. So I'm gonna begin by taking all the hardware off the guitar and place it in this cup so I can conveniently lose it all at once later. And tap on the side of the nut to take it off. So after taking off the nut, this is what we're left with. And this is where normally one would sand down the wooden knots from the previous nut and then add wood to raise the locking nut up, because it's currently very low. But I had another idea, so I basically fired up Tinkercad and designed a 3D printable part that will go into the existing cut and fill where needed, and also accommodate for the truss rod. And then take some red PLA and print it. I'm gonna be honest, I tried this at least 7 or 8 times to get the height just right. This is one of the final attempts. So this should fit in the current cut and provide a flat surface high enough for the new locking nut to sit and be screwed down. And I still have the old strings attached, so I can use them as guidelines to see the string height. And it looks good to me. It's very stable and the height is right. Then I had another problem with the bridge. I tried to take it off, but one screw was stuck in place and didn't want to come off. So and in order to use a floating style trem, I needed to widen the hole that the block of the tremolo was hitting in to provide a wide enough space of movement. This was a first for me. I've never done anything like this before with a trem. So after measuring about 5 billion times, I've marked where the inserts for the studs will go. And then did those 2 terrifying drills. And I'm pretty sure if you mess up those 2 hole positions, you're gonna have problems. And these 2 holes for the studs need to be at the right place and also have the right depth, not too deep, not too shallow. And as expected, we're gonna have to use some seams to raise the back of the neck a bit to accommodate for the added height that the floating trem created. And string again with the old strings to test the action. And lo and behold, it was spot on. Oh yeah. So far so good. So I'm gonna take everything off again and prepare the body for painting. And By the way, I'm planning on changing the direction of the channel a bit and focus more on guitar projects, mods, paint jobs and guitar building in general. There will be covers of course, but not as often. And the time between the videos is also going to be a bit longer, so I've got time to do things within the time frame they require for a certain standard. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button. Thank you. And this is the front and the back of the guitar sanded with a sander. I'm gonna sand the sides of the guitar by hand. And in case you're wondering, no, you don't have to sand the guitar down to bare wood. That's needless extra work. Basically, in order for a new paint to stick on top of the old paint, you need either a mechanical or a chemical bond. And in this case, the sanding of the body will create a strong mechanical bond with the new paint and basically use the old paint as some kind of primer or filler. So it's gonna make our life easier. And before we paint, we make sure the body is clean and there's not dust on it or fingerprints or grease from our fingers. And use masking tape to secure the pocket of the neck, because the extra paint would create an imbalance on how the neck sits in the pocket. And then she was yellow. I applied 2 or 3 coats and did some light sanding, because the specific spray can I used had a matte finish, because I think it has much better coverage. And for the gloss, I'm gonna add it later with the clear varnish. So it was time to deal with the stickers on top of the guitar. These are all custom stickers and I couldn't find them anywhere online, so I had to make them. So within Photoshop, I used the custom scale and compared the size of the bridge humbucker, which is standard and I know how big it is, to calculate how big the bird is and the 55 logo is, so I can print them in the actual size they exist on the original guitar. And big shout out to Joanna, who helped me tremendously by designing the bird from scratch. I'm gonna add the link to her channel in the description below, so check that out, she's amazing. I took off the tuning pegs and roughened them up with Dremel, and then put them on sticks and basically painted them. Then it was time to deal with the scratchy frets, so I covered the fretboard with painter's tape and then used my Dremel with some metal polish to make those frets shiny and smooth. This is the back of the guitar with custom red springs. Check if everything works correctly. And then I shielded the entire electronics cavity with some copper tape. And then somehow I managed to cut my fingers with it and bled all over the guitar like a real man. This is the original factory pickup and I'm gonna keep it since it sounds good. My budget was all gone in the tremolo and the locking nut, so spray paint. And no one will know. I'm gonna tell everyone this is a custom DiMarzio pickup for $500. And finally I did this custom backplate for the guitar with the name of the channel. So again, if you like what you see, please subscribe and click the notification button. Thank you.